was a Thursday.
It was a Thursday.
June the 23rd.
June the 23rd.
1994. Collect your belongings. You are free to go.
Collect your belongings. Collect your belongings, you're free to go. Collect your belongings, you're free to go.
When escorted outside, go directly to your car.
When escorted outside, go directly to your car. When escorted outside, go directly to when escorted outside, go directly to your car.
Do not talk to reporters.
Do not talk to reporters.
My head is spinning. My heart is racing.
My hands spin.
Head is spinning.
Head is spinning. Head is spinning. Head is spinning.
My heart is racing.
My heart is racing.
I can't get a breath.
I can't get a breath.
I just want out of there.
I just want out there.
When I get to my car, I throw everything on the back.
When I get to my car, I throw everything in the back. I throw everything in the back on the back. And I get to my car. I throw.
And I just collapse into the driver's seat.
And I just collapse into the driver's seat. 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 Into the driver's seat. I just collapse.
I can't do this. I can't go home to my family.
I can't do this. I can't go home to my family. I can't do this. I can't go home to my family.
That I haven't seen in a week.
I can't go to my family that I haven't seen in a week.
And pretend to be happy.
And pretend to be happy. Page down.
Not even their love and support could help me at this particular time. We had just sentenced a man to death. Not even pretend to be happy. Not even their love and support could help me at this particular time.
Not even their love and support could help me at this particular time.
We had just sentenced a man to death.
We just had sentenced the man to death.
Now what?
Now what?
Just go home and wash dishes?
Just go home and wash dishes?
You see, in Mississippi, the death penalty is like a part of our unspoken culture.
In Mississippi, the death penalty is like part of our unspoken culture.
The basic logic is, if you murder someone, then you're going to receive the death penalty.
The basic logic is that if you murder someone, then you're going to get death penalty.
Someone, then you're going to receive the death penalty.
The death penalty.
So, when the jury selection process took place, they asked me, could you, if the evidence presented justified the death penalty, could you deliver rationally and without reservations a penalty of death? If the evidence presented justified the death penalty,
If the evidence presented justified the death penalty, if the evidence presented justified the death penalty,
could you deliver rationally and without reservation
could you deliver rationally and without reservation, rationally without reservations,
a penalty of death?
a penalty of death?
My answer was an astounding yes.
My answer was an astounding yes.
And I was selected as juror number 2.
And I was selected the juror number 2.
The trial started from the evidence being presented
The trial started from evidence being presented
and from the pictures of the victim.
and from the pictures of the victim.
My first response was yes, this man is a monster
My first response was, yes, this man is a monster
and he deserves the death penalty.
and he deserves the death penalty.
For days, I sat and looked at his hands.
For days I sat and, what?
For days, I sat and looked at his hand.
And
The ones that yielded the knife.
the ones that yielded the knife. Ones that yielded the knife. Ones that yielded the knife. To apply and produce something positive that yielded the knife. Control of.
Ones that yielded, for days, I sat and looked at his hands. The ones that yielded the knife.
The ones that yielded the knife.
And his pasty, against his pasty white skin.
And against his pasty white skin. Pale, unhealthy looking, pasty white skin.
His eyes.
His eyes.
Well, he spent endless days in his cell.
Well, no, he spent endless days in this cell.
No sunlight.
No sunlight.
So his eyes were as black as his hair and his mustache.
So his eyes is black. So his eyes were as black as his hair and his mustache. So his eyes were as black as his hair and mustache.
He was very intimidating.
He was very intimidating.
And there was absolutely no doubt.
And there was absolutely no doubt
in his guilt.
In his guilt.
But regardless of his guilt,
fire going to the day. I've heard it said that folks will have right in this pass out. Regardless of his guilt.
As the days passed,
As the days passed,
I began to see this monster as a human being.
I began to see this monster as a human being.
Something inside of me was changing that I just didn't understand.
Something inside me was changing that I just didn't understand.
I was beginning to question myself
I was beginning to question myself
as to whether or not I wanted to give this man the death penalty.
as to whether or not I want to give this man the death penalty.
Jury deliberations began.
Jury deliberations began. Jury deliberations began.
And the judge gave us jury instructions.
And the judge gave us jury instructions.
And it was to be used as a tool.
And it was to be used as a tool
In how to reach a verdict.
and how to reach a verdict.
Well, using this tool only led to one decision.
Using this tool only led to one decision.
And that was the death penalty.
And that was the death penalty.
I felt backed into a corner.
I fell back into a corner.
My head and
I fell back into a corner. To be forced in a difficult and unpleasant situation that one cannot easily resolve or escape. A noun can be used between back and into. My boss really backed me into a corner when he asked me to fire the CEO's daughter. Backed me into a corner. I feel my boss really backed me into a corner when he asked me to fire the CEO's daughter. Scott has been backed into a corner when his mortgage payment, with his mortgage that he cannot afford. I really backed myself into a corner when I agreed to go to 2 events on the same night. He tells different stories to different people. Finally, he backed himself into a corner and had to admit he lies.
I felt backed into a corner.
I felt back into a corner.
My head and my heart were in conflict with each other.
My hand and my heart were in conflict with each other.
And the thought of death penalty made me sick. However, following the judge's instructions, being a law-abiding person,
However, following the judge's instruction and being a law-abiding person,
I gave up.
I give up.
I gave up and voted along with the other 11 jurors.
I gave up and voted along with the other 11 jurors.
And there it was.
And there was
Our broken judicial system at work.
our broken judicial system at work.
So here I am in my car, and I'm wondering,
And here I am in my car, and I'm wondering.
how is my life ever going to be the same?
How is my life ever going to be the same?
My life was kids, work, church,
My life, kids, work, church,
ball games,
games,
just your average, normal, everyday life.
just average, normal, everyday life.
Now everything felt trivial.
Now everything felt trivial.
I was going down this rabbit hole.
I was going down this rabbit hole.
The anger,
I was going down this rabbit hole. I was going down this rabbit hole. I was going down this rabbit hole.
the anxiety,
The anxiety,
the guilt, the depression, it just clung to me.
it just clung to me.
The anger, the anxiety, the guilt, the depression, it just clung.
Refused to stop believing or hoping for something. She clings to the hope that her husband will come back to her. It just clung to me. Phew. Literally to hold on to someone or something tightly. The little girl clung to her dad's leg and cried as he tried to leave for work. I clung to the side of the rock and prayed that a search party would find me. By extension, to remain devoted to or entrenched in something often belief or opinion. In this ever-changing world, you can suddenly, stubbornly cling to your old habit. Clung.
To me. I knew that my life had to resume.
I knew that my life had to resume.
So I sought counseling.
So I saw counseling.
The counselor diagnosed me with PTSD.
The counselor diagnosed me with PTSD.
The counselor
Diagnosed it.
diagnosed me with PTSD and told me that the best way to overcome the PTSD was to talk about the trauma.
Traumatic stress disorder. Traumatic stress disorder.
However, if I talk about or tried to talk about the trauma
However, if I talk or try to talk about the trauma
outside her office, I was shut down.
outside the office, I was shut down.
No one wanted to hear about it.
No one wanted to hear about it. I was shut down.
He was just a murderer. Get over it.
He was just a murderer. Get over it. Accept the fact that especially after dealing with it for a while. They're upset and that you didn't call, but they'll get over it. Why not? Get over it.
It was then that I decided to become a silent survivor.
It was the what?
It was then that I decided to become a silent survivor.
It was then that I decided to become a solid survivor. What?
It was then that I decided to become a silent survivor.
Silent survivor, silent survivor, silent survivor. A silent survivor.
12 years later, 2006, I learned that Bobby Wilcher had dropped all of his appeals and his execution date was approaching. That was like a punch in the stomach. I learned that 12 years later, 2006,
12 years later, 2006,
I learned that Bobby Wilcher
I learned that Bobby Wilcher
had dropped all of his appeals.
had dropped all of his appeals. Drop all of his appeals. Drop appeal. One of the parties is requesting that the senior case is looked at again by the there's something went wrong with the first decision and it should be changed. Mostly the appeals process is somewhat limited.
And his execution date was approaching.
And his execution date was approaching.
That was like a punch in the stomach.
That was like a punch in the stomach. That was like a punch in the stomach. That was like a punch in the stomach. Something that makes you feel very disappointed, upset. Wow, it's like a punch in the stomach. It's what? A slap in the face. Yeah, I've been trying to hard to cheat to it or something. Is what the course issue is, a kick in his teeth. Kick in his teeth. Yeah, the course decision as a kick in the teeth to the people, a kick in the teeth, punch in the stomach, kick in the stick.
All of those buried feelings just started coming back.
All those buried feelings just started coming back.
To try and find peace, I called Bobby's attorney.
To try and find peace, I called Bobby's attorney.
And I said, can I see Bobby before he's executed?
Can I see Bobby before he is executed?
Driving to the penitentiary on the day of his execution.
Driving to the penitentiary on the day of his execution?
In my mind, Bobby was going to be manic.
In my mind, Bobby was going to be manic.
But surprisingly, he was
very calm.
Very calm. And for 2 hours, he and I sit there and talked about life.
And for 2 hours, he and I sat there and talked about life.
And I got to ask him to forgive me for my hand in his death.
I got to ask him to forgive me for my hand in his death.
His words to me were, for my hand in his death. His words to me were, You don't have to apologize.
You don't have to apologize.
You didn't put me here.
You didn't put me
I
here.
did this myself.
I did this myself.
But if it'll make you feel better, I forgive you.
But if it'll make you feel better, I forgive you.
Did this
It'll make you
myself.
feel better.
But if it'll make you feel better, I forgive you. On my way home, I stopped by a restaurant
On my own, I stopped by a restaurant.
and bought a margarita.
And bought a margarita.
I don't think I could get one big enough, but
I don't think I can get one big enough.
to try and calm down.
And try and calm down.
My phone rang. It was Bobby's attorney.
My phone rang. My phone rang was Bob's attorney.
Within 2 minutes of his execution,
Within 2 minutes of his execution,
they had given him a stay.
they had to give him a stay.
Within 2 minutes of his execution, they had given him a stay. This stay gave me time to reach out to Bobby.
This stay gave me time to reach out to Bobby.
To reach out to Bobby.
To reach out to Bobby. We're reaching out to the most valuable members. Reach out to Bobby. A silent survivor. An order by a judge that stops the judgment being performed until new information can be considered. Stay of execution. Deportation. Stay. Okay. Stay of execution.
This stay gave me time to reach out to Bobby. And as crazy as it may sound, we became friends.
And as it is crazy as it may sound, we became as crazy as it may sound, as crazy as it may sound, as crazy as it may sound, as crazy as it may sound.